It's both of
Yay!
us.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
Hello. Hi. That's Emily Arnold.
And that's Shannon Stott. And we
this
are,
is Improv on and off the topic. Yeah.
where we talk about our theme, our monthly theme. This month we are doing transitions. Our yearly theme is community. And we kind of chit chat about whatever, to be honest, whatever Shannon has been thinking about for the past 48 hours. And then I follow along. I will say though, in terms of like, I'm sure this is not like deep or things to think about, but in terms of very little transitions, my pregnant baby bump cannot fit into jeans anymore. So I am transitioning into dress Emily for the rest of the week.
Are you going to have to get like those fun? They're not funny. They're very useful, I'm sure. Like extender belt things that clip onto your jeans. You're going to get pregnancy jeans.
Oh no, girl, I'm getting pregnancy pants. I'm getting the ones where it's like the jeans that like come up to like the pockets and then it's like cozy city on your tummy. That's what I'm after.
I mean, what are you going to do? My friend. Like, yes.
I don't know, but right now it's dress and bicycle shorts, Emily, at work this week until I can Amazon some pants.
I say hooray and congratulations. That's what I say.
Thanks. And also, Charlotte's in the comments. Hi, Charlotte. You're going to watch the replay later.
We see you, Charlotte. We love you, Charlotte. If you don't see Charlotte, it's because Charlotte is on YouTube, and that's where we're streaming to. We're also, hey, Emily, we're also streaming to Facebook, and we're streaming to LinkedIn today.
Wow.
I know. LinkedIn had a whole thing. Doop-de-doo-de-doo. So we're trying a thing. We're trying a new thing. Here the last 48 hours. Here's what I have been thinking. We've been talking about transitions. If you don't know, because you're watching us on LinkedIn and you've just never seen us before, right? Emily is a licensed board certified behavioral analyst. We both are professional improvisers. I've been doing improv for over 20 years and over like almost 25 years. Anyway, the thing is, both of us see how what we learn in improv can really help to guide us through our lives. We can take things that we learn and put it in our lives and really just emphasize and enhance the way we react or connect to ourselves and each other. That being said, Emily, this is what I've been thinking about. We have talked about transitions within our bodies and ourselves. We've talked about all sorts of different transitions. Today, I have been thinking about a group. When you are a part of a group that is transitioning. So whether that is, I love it. I love it when this is the like, I have thoughts. I already have thought space. So if you are part of a family that's moving, or if you're part of a team that's being let go or being promoted, if you are part of a relationship that is changing in any way, when you're part of a group that is somehow going through a transition, I want to talk about, how do you know what your role is? What is your role? How does improv help us find those roles? That's what I want to talk about.
Because I think there's also like, I think finding your role and finding your position within that transition is the first kind of step there, right? Like, are you included in that transition or are you being left behind? Whether that's by your choice or not, right? Like if you're in a 10-person team and the 9 other people on your team get promoted and not you, that's different than all of you get promoted, right? Or like or whatever it is. Or there's more of a philosophical, like you're talking about relationships, right? Like if someone, if your family, you start to realize they are more conservative than you, for instance, starting to recognize like, oh, this is kind of the direction kind of philosophically my family's heading. Am I going with them, or like, do I agree with them, or am I kind of choosing to stay behind?
Right.
I think that's the important first step.
Where
That
are
out.
you
Mhm.
in the transition? Who are you in the transition?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, go.
I
I was gonna
wanted,
ask. I was gonna
yeah,
ask the audience a question.
yeah,
Hey, join here. If you're there chitting chatting on at the DMV or anything else, if you, I just want to know, like, as we're talking about this, if you have an experience of being, kind of left behind, either philosophically, metaphorically, or literally, while a
yeah.
group kind of moved on. Tell us about it, and then Shannon's. But while you're typing, Shannon's gonna share her thought. Ready, set, go.
Ready to go. First of all, look at this fancy thing. Katink.
Whoa,
Transition. Okay.
that's cool.
I'm trying. I'm bumping us up. Um, on stage. So this is on and off the topic, right? On and off the stage. On stage, what we learn when we practice improv is exactly what you're talking about, because the group is the troupe that you're with, or the duo, right? Or even yourself, but we're talking about groups here. The group is the troupe that you are with. And as the troupe is creating a story, a narrative, or playing a game, you on the sidelines have to decide what your role is in any given situation, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
your role is to edit, right? This part of the scene is done, and your role is to wipe it and move everyone on to the next thing. Sometimes your role is to do nothing, yes, to shush it, okay, and to sit, yeah, and to sit quietly and let whatever is happening happen on stage. Sometimes your role is to help a character, whether that is by becoming a character or by just being who you are, whoever Emily is, whispering something to that person, or clapping or cheering them on, just being a support. But in general, improv, the practice of improv, really helps us to learn to quickly transition to define the role, right?
Yeah.
What am I in this moment? How do I define my role? Is it editor? Is it character? Whatever. What am I in this moment? Now the moment has changed, to quickly define those roles so that we aren't feeling left behind. That's what I have to say right now about transitions and
Yeah.
how it helps. Yeah. How we're learning.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and I and we do have to make those decisions pretty quickly. And I think what we learn as improvisers is that we are our own person and only we can make that decision, right?
Mm.
Um, that no one can force you on the stage or force you to shut up and sit down. I mean, I guess they can, but like not usually. Um, you wind up becoming an active participant, whether it's actively choosing to stay quiet or actively jumping up. And to take that back off the stage, I I think that's important to try to foster some of that own awareness in your own relationships,
Yes.
as if you were sitting off on the sidelines, right?
Yes.
Um, I think what becomes harder is when you're in the middle of it, both on stage and in real life, when you're in the middle of a community that is going through something. It's harder
Mhm.
to be on the outside and be objective. Similarly, in a scene, sometimes it's harder. Uh, it's harder to do those things because you're kind of like caught up in it and you're on a roll. It's harder to
Mhm.
edit. It's harder to like get that outside perspective.
Yes.
So how can we take those outside perspectives, you think?
Yes. So one of the things that we do on stage, well, that I teach, is to slow down, right? When we're doing improv in general, our instructors can often give us the feedback that, hey, this is quick, whatever comes to the top of your head, that's what you say. We're reacting in the moment. Like we're listening, we're doing things now. It's fast. That type of feedback can cause anxiety. It can cause us to have way too many thoughts, like an overactive, and then what is the choice
Choice paralysis.
paralysis? Yeah, we can have all of these things, and it can make us choose, especially as newer improvisers or as nervous improvisers. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing all of this, but it can cause us to choose inappropriate responses. It can cause us to choose responses that are harmful to us or make mistakes. It can cause us to choose lots of things. Answer: it's okay to slow down. It's okay to literally inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, and make a choice. It's okay to open up your body, to choose a different position. These are things that help us to physically come out of the moment that we're in so that we can feel like we're closer to the sideline, like the feeling of closer to the sideline, if that makes sense. Stepping away from that just by shifting our body gives us a little bit of perspective. That's on stage. And the same thing can happen off stage, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that reminds me of who is it? I believe her full name is Star Jones from somewhere on the West Coast, Portland, maybe, who created like an improv self-defense class. And that's what kind of reminds me of this. If you're in a scene that is going into inappropriate territory,
Yes.
recommends kind of taking a second, and that it's okay to kind of step out of the scene, to be like, that's not okay. That over there, bad news bears.
Right.
And that's all right. Which becomes much harder when you get caught up in like the pressure of needing to go with the group and do exactly what your teammates are doing, and going fast. Yeah.
And we can even use these techniques and these thought processes when it's not dire, right? We're like right now, Emily and I feel like we're talking about times where things are going sideways, or times where things are, whether that's on stage or off, where it's like you're feeling like, oh no, what do I do? But that oh no, what do I do can happen in the most delightful like scenes, right? Or in the times where you're like, wow, this is an awesome scene. There's gnomes and fairies and unicorns and flying elephants, and it's going so well. All of those things are meshing together, and you might still have, 4 minutes, or maybe it's not completely wrapped up, and you're sitting in that scene really wondering, well, what do I do next, right? And even when it's good, you can still stop and take a breath and decide for yourself what your role is in the group in order to transition the group to a logical conclusion, or to the next scene. This just inspired a different thought. I wonder on stage as well. I wonder to you, the audience, to think about. I want you to wonder about how to transition your audience.
Ooh,
right? Yes.
Because that's tricky, because if we're going boop, 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 it's hard for them to follow along. We have to kind of, we have to create an ebb and flow of the show. We have to be able to like do a little bit of, that kind of balance between like hand holding and letting them walk on their own and figure it out. And, it's so tricky. I think about literally transitioning when we're doing short form into like explaining games, right?
Right.
Where there's like an art to not giving so much detail that the audience is like, what did you say? That sounds complicated. And not giving any detail so that they're just like so why are they moving forwards and then going backwards now? I don't.
This doesn't make any sense,
Doesn't make any
right?
sense.
Right. And
Uh-huh.
the same hand holding versus like too much information versus too little happens when you're doing things like for some reason moving is coming up for me. I'm not necessarily sure. I'm not moving, but maybe someone out there, maybe you're moving uh and specifically when you're moving with family, right? And you're going through your own stress. This is representative of the improviser. You're as an improviser on stage, you're going through your own stress. Like I'm doing this thing, I'm also moving. I am like moving along here, right? But it is gracious and helpful to you to take a moment to realize that your group off stage in this scenario, maybe that's your family, they're coming along with you and also need some sort of stability, right? You don't want to give them what you're talking about over information. Maybe they don't need to know like what they're going to wear right this very second. Maybe they need like, but they may need, what can you give your audience so that they feel comfortable? What can you give your family? Can you give them the times that we're going to get up in the morning? Can you give them the fun itinerary of the places that you're going to visit or the fun food that you're going to get from 7-Eleven? Like we never get puffy Cheetos, but this time Cheeto puffs, right? Just so we can build an environment. We use these terms on stage, right? We can build an environment so that people can play within those parameters. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I think there's also, we set up the environment, but I think there's also a little bit of self-disclosure that goes along with making people feel comfortable too. And because we don't exist in a vacuum and we are humans who crave connection and understanding of other humans. But, in a situation where we're moving, similar thing between the withholding all information and too much information. I don't want to tell my partner, I'm so nervous, I have to go to the bathroom every 2 seconds and I'm cramping and that's too much. But also being stoic faced the whole time and being like, yeah, this isn't stressful at all. This is totally fine.
Everyone's fine. You should be fine. I'm fine.
I don't think it's helpful at all.
It's not.
And so not only setting up your environment and their expectations, but also sharing how you are feeling as part of that community, I think is helpful.
Right.
When we're going through a stressful situation, having that little bit of empathy to connect to other humans. Trying to think about what's a different kind of community transition?
Well, I'm also just reminded of a game. I'm reminded of the mirror game. Actually, I was thinking of 2 games. I was thinking of the one where you block off 3 sections of the stage, and you say like, this one is romantic, and this one is sci-fi, and this one is story rhyming. And through wherever you're standing on that stage, you have to transition the scene into those different themes. So that's one thing that we do. But another one that's definitely based on what we're talking about is in a group where we are all mirroring, right? And so you're one person, everyone is doing the same thing. And what you're doing is you are keeping an eye on everyone so that it feels like almost you lose a little bit of touch with who is leading and who is following. And with this idea that you're talking about, Emily, about being vulnerable, when there's a flow, right? When we are vulnerable with the people that we are transitioning with, they can trust and then be vulnerable with you. And then we can move through the transition together as a flowing unit instead of one person having all the power and dictating how this will go, right? We are going to move like this. Doesn't matter what your body is telling you, right? And then versus, hey, we're sharing this power. I'm giving up. Maybe I don't know what this like move is. You're about to talk about different like community transitions or transitions in general. Like I'm thinking about obviously we're thinking about death, we're thinking about loss, but we're also thinking about I was also thinking about like marriage, like when your family gains more family, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
this like, this is how our family works. We're mirroring. And now look, more people are coming.
And now we
We've
have to
got to
kind of shift things up, right? And if um as I'm growing a small human, if my entire family just kept going about their own gosh darn business, and if I was like, asking for some of the help that I've had to ask for in like the first trimester, and now like looking for maternity pants, uh, if people were like, "No, you're fine. I'm fine. Sorry, bye," uh, and just doing their own thing, that's not helpful to the other members of your community. Meanwhile, for me, it's not. I'm not going to go to my mom and unload like all of my anxiety about about how I'm feeling, right? That's not helpful to her.
no. And the reverse is true too. Like if you also are asking for the help, because you theoretically you could try to move through the world as Emily used to move through the world 8 months ago, 9 months ago. But now something is completely different with your body. You do need a different type of response. All right. I'm shout out to
Yep.
Luke Wallens, response versus reactions. You do need a different type of response from your community. And in order to do that, you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. If I were just roboting through this, and I gotta be honest with you, I don't know how anyone does. Like, I don't know. I know that there are some, uterus havers out there who are like, I didn't tell my boss I was pregnant until I was 36 weeks or like whatever. Like I just kept on going with my life. I don't know how you do that. I cannot function without assistance and support. Um and I don't think my family would. I think my family would be worried about me
Mm-hmm.
if I was just like, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna take that further, because I'm assuming there are many people out there who are doing exactly what you're doing without support, right? And I
Girl,
wonder what it is. I don't. It's not that I wonder what it is like, but I'm sure if you are watching and you're like, well, I'm watching and I'm having to do this secretly, or I'm having to do whatever your transition is, I'm having to do it secretly and without support.
yeah.
How do we encourage, how does the practice of improv help those people? Because I think it does. I think it does.
I think so. I think, however, a lot of it depends on the environment that you're in, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think part of those of us who, are on improv teams or have worked together know that there exists a community of people that will support you
Mm-hmm.
no matter what. And I think one of the tricky things is probably if you're hiding something, if you're hiding a transition, hiding like wanting to transition for yourself from your community for one reason or another, it might be because you're afraid that they don't support you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that fear might be valid. Uh, and so I think the lesson from improv is that there are humans out there who will support you.
Yes.
The hard part is finding them.
Yes. Yeah. You that the hard part is finding them in that process, in that transition, recognizing that the transition that you're going through is good for you.
Mm-hmm.
This, I think that improv helps us with the practice of recognizing. I'm thinking about the improv shuffle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this thing that improvisers will do on the sidelines sometimes, where they'll have an idea, and they'll move forward. And almost what actually happens is that their bodies will have a thought. Your body knows it's time to get on stage, and your whole body will lurch forward. But something in your brain is like, no, 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 I'm embarrassed, or I'm whatever it is. And then you step back. The practice of improv, when you're learning improv well, and your teacher, when you're learning from Shannon Stott and Emily Arnold, okay, when you're taking improv on and off the stage classes and courses, what we're teaching you is that response, the feeling that you're getting in your body, is good. It's a good, it's good to listen to, and it's good to move forward. So, and just to step into the scene, to step forward into the fear a little bit, so that you can say to yourself, okay, I'm safe, I'm doing this well. But we're training to trust our bodies. So all that to say that if you are having, because it can feel like this, right? If you are having the scenario and the feeling like my community is not supporting me, but something in my body is telling me that I am correct, right? This transition, whatever it may be, is good for me. Improv helps us trust that. And then what Emily is saying is, yes, after you can trust that, you're like, yes, I don't have to listen to this community that's telling me no. Once I can trust myself, now I can find the community that is actually going to support that actual feeling that I know I am correct.
And on the other side of that equation is the community, is the member of the community, how you can support other people through that transition.
Come on.
Right? That you have to be the environment for that human being to be able to say, like, yeah, I trust you with, reaching out for help and sharing what I'm going through and all of those things. When you're talking about, like, you were like, there are probably some people, listen, if y'all get on Reddit, go to like the pregnancy subreddit, and sometimes I'm like, how, so if you ever feel like you're with someone, I think someone you care about, you want to show them that you will support them, right? So that they don't become the person who posts on relationship advice about how their spouse yelled at them for being lazy in their first trimester. Like, you don't want to be that spouse. You want to be the best community and environment you can be for your loved ones, so that they can trust you in asking for help.
Yes, absolutely. And it's lovely. Like, you and I are doing this on and off thing pretty well right now, because that's the other side of improv as well, right? We are also taught that when we see the person, whoever it is, get on stage and edit that scene, that we trust that they see something. So we sit down. We trust that they know what is right for them and what is right for whatever it is, the group, because that's what we're talking about today. What is right for the group? What is right for the audience, right? We're taught to trust them. And same thing for when you're inside the scene that you were talking about, Emily. Sometimes it's easy to be on the outskirts, but when you're in the scene and you're suddenly like, and that's the end of that scene. We're taught that if you hear that, that person heard something, and it's time for all of us to transition,
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of that, that is the time for us. Do you want to, before we go, talk about what we have going on this week?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do. So on Wednesday, Emily Arnold and I are teaching a virtual class. We're teaching a virtual class all about transitions. We're going to, with the theme of transitions, running through it. We'll do more of this, how we can take improv and put it in our lives, specifically as it pertains to transitions in your life. And of course, we will teach you some improv of how do we transition scenes? How do we transition from character to character? And what does any of that have to do? How can we take the essence of those learnings and put them in our bodies so that we can transition on and
off the stage?
Hey, listen, it's time to go.
Time to go. Come to our class. 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Wednesday, the 24th of August.
That is correct. I want to do this one more time. Look at us. Look, you guys, see, transition. We did it. And that, my friends, is the way we usually transition out of here. Well, sort of. Otherwise, if we don't see you at on Wednesday, we will definitely see you on and
Off the stage. Goodbye.
bye.